Squid Game has never been won by a woman, at least not on screen. But what if that's not totally true? In the show, we see a huge incline on the side of the male players inside the Squid Game and far fewer female players presented. Yes, this can be explained by the fact that men are more likely to gamble and fall under a bigger risk of losing money and becoming broke. But imagine for a second, if one of the female players had made it to that final round, who would have had the best shot? On the last place we can place player 095. Her first appearance is made in Season 2 before the six-legged race. When everyone already collected into a group of 5, she walked around with a lost expression, unable to find a team to join. At first being shy and modest, she eventually gained the courage to ask player 120 to form a team. Yet during the actual game, she showed how unable she was to perform under pressure, getting support to continue only from those who surrounded her. She often seemed disconnected from what was going on and never made a decision on her own. In the voting process, she was already ready to quit, which once again showed her readiness to give up and escape the deadly games, even if it meant going back to her debt-filled life. Her weak and victim-like nature, which felt trapped inside the game without her own will, led to her biggest mistake being knocked out during the Mingle game. She didn't reach the secure room in time and was eliminated by the pink soldiers. Her reaction time was too slow, and her will to survive never developed past relying on others. That's why player 95, being the most vulnerable among female players, is placed last on the list of possible female winners. Comment what kind of future would you like to see for player 095. Right after her in the list is player 222. Being in the last month of pregnancy, player 222 appeared in the deadly games with a clear goal to win money for her and her child's future. Already in the red light green light game, she listened to Gi-hun's words regarding the huge danger and followed his commands to reach the finish line safely. In the first voting process, she voted to quit the game. Yet the fact that she had to continue didn't break her spirit. She openly stated her situation before the six-legged race to a group of men, knowing that this would soften their hearts and help her join a strong team that included last year's winner. Crying in the toilet and being scared for her life, she didn't break during the deadly games and was always ready to act fast when others hesitated. Her survival was emotional and instinctive, not strategic. But besides the stress of the game, her body was additionally under the stress of pregnancy. That's why it was only a matter of time before she would appear in a challenge where she couldn't protect herself. The reason why player 222 made it so far was mostly thanks to others like Gi-hun and his team, who always kept an eye on her due to her condition. Another player who took responsibility for player 222 was her ex-boyfriend and the father of her child, who also tried to protect her during Mingle game. Playing alone or not being a key character in Season 3, player 222 would have already died during the Mingle game without their help. Comment if you believe that player 222 will be the one who win in Season 3. Next after her is player 149, one of the eldest participants in Squid Game. The granny appears inside the game accidentally with her son, and during the games we realize that this way she wanted to cover all debts her son put the family into. This shows her deep loyalty as a mother and her readiness to risk her life for the sake of her family. But despite her age, her character showcased a strong and unbreakable will. Being a child of the Korean War, player 149 knew how to handle real extreme situations. Even though most of the time she followed her son's decisions, she never hesitated when action was required. The fact that she was the second player in the history to smuggle a weapon into the game, a knife disguised as a hairpin, also says that her readiness to fight was real. She wasn't planning to rely on luck, she had a strategy. Her age gave her wisdom and the knowledge of how to act in life-threatening conditions. Yet, her age also made her the weakest and slowest player, which sooner or later would cost her the chance to continue. Also as a mother, she would do everything to save her son's life first. All these moments hint at her eventual elimination. Next after her in the list of possible female winners is player 240. From Season 1 we know not much about player 240. She appears for the first time on screen before the tug-of-war game. While most players were panicking and searching for teams, she remained calm and easy about everything happening. Her quiet nature made her stand out. That same calmness helped her survive red light green light and the Dalgona game, where pressure made many fail. She stayed focused, yet despite being one of the most easygoing players, player 240 was ultimately unmotivated. She followed the events as they came and didn't show much desire to fight or stand against anything. Her passiveness cost her life. During her private and emotional conversation with player 067, she admitted she had nothing important left to live for. Her sacrifice proved that she could easily step away from the goal so that someone else could reach it instead of her. That is why she wouldn't have made it to the final games. She lacked purpose, and without a purpose there is no survival in Squid Game. Comment if death of player 240 during Marbles game made you cry. But now we have 3 finalists in the row, those who truly had a shot at winning. In third place, player 212. In Season 1 we noticed player 212 from the first minutes after the red light green light game. At first she cries and tearfully begs the pink soldiers to let her go home to her child that still does not have a name. But as soon as Gi-hun returns to the game for the second time, he spots her immediately, now looking stronger and more independent. The strongest side of player 212 is that she learned how to survive in a cruel world. Her biggest advantage was finding the strongest person and sticking to him. That's why from the beginning she stuck with player 101. Player 212 was sneaky and manipulative. She could twist anyone to serve her goals. She didn't care who she hurt, her only focus was to win the final prize. But her boldness and self-confidence became a double-edged sword. Thinking she could manipulate player 101 backfired when he betrayed her. She couldn't handle the idea that someone used her. That is why during the glass bridge game she didn't act in order to survive, she demanded revenge. She clung to her pride and dragged player 101 down with her. Player 212 had every chance to pass all games using others, but her ego and inability to forgive betrayal cost her everything. In second place is player 120, who appears in Squid Game Season 2. At the beginning we can see how player 120 feels lost among the players. But during the 6-legged race, she showcased her true fighting nature. She became the spirit of the team and set everyone up for victory. Besides being a natural leader, she had experience as a soldier and knew how to handle extreme pressure. Compared to many other female players, she was one of the few who willingly voted to continue playing the games. She had a clear goal, plan, and wasn't afraid to risk everything. Player 120 even took control of the rebellion started by Gi-hun, being the first in the front line, teaching others how to use weapons and even taking the courage to return to the player's room to collect more gear. Her unbreakable, strong, and independent character gave her a real shot at winning the game. The only reason she's not number 1 is because her journey involved personal transformation. She is a trans woman and her strong personality was shaped from a different kind of life, a life that made her a survivor even before the game began. And finally, the number 1 female who could truly win Squid Game is player 067. Following Season 1 we know that even before entering the game, player 067 presented herself as strong and willing to do anything to reach her goals. That's how she escaped from being used by player 101. And that's how she started searching for her family in North Korea. Her responsibility toward her younger brother's life made her mature early. Entering the game the second time, she was more prepared than anyone. At first, she covered her face not to inhale the gas and stayed awake. This let her stay conscious and sneak a knife into the game. Being a thief, she paid attention to details and acted fast. Without wasting time, she snuck into the ventilation shaft and discovered details about the upcoming games. She couldn't understand everything, but she observed and quickly followed the plans of smarter players like player 218. That's how she picked the easiest Dalgona figure and made it to the end of the glass bridge game, choosing the number that goes right after Sang-woo's. Worth to mention that in red light green light game, without knowing Sang-woo's plan to hide behind other players, she developed the same strategy on her own. She was mentally sharp and physically strong. Even after a severe cut, she tried to treat the wound and acted like nothing was wrong. She didn't want to show pain or weakness. Unfortunately, that injury caused her to lose focus and become a victim of player 218. Yet, among all female players, it's clear that player 067 had the strongest chance to win. She had strategy, calm nerves, and a real reason to survive. And what other female players would you put on the list? Share your versions in the comments, and don't forget to write your top 3 female players who truly deserve to win Squid Game and take the money prize.